other countries or other areas of the world, it was always important for me to meet like the locals and to see
Mhm.
like how the locals live and the things that they do and what their lifestyles are like, because I feel like we are in this bubble in the United States that's very
Yes.
huge, which is cool, but I think it's great to get a cultural perspective, and it also it gives you a perspective to feel more refreshed, or at least kind of where you stand with how you feel about your life and your life's journey. So I feel like anytime we traveled outside the country, I became very much more appreciative of the life that I have here in the United States. Movement is my life. It's absolutely what I love to do. I wouldn't change it. Dance has been my saving grace. That one thing that I could always come back to and just disconnect from the world, have a moment of solitude, and just feel free and alive. I'm ethnic, I listen to hip hop, and I dress a little bit more rugged than.
So before we start this podcast, I just want you to give a quick introduction about yourself. As I have already done a little bit of research from my end, I went through your profile and the kind of work you have done that is absolutely incredible. I have saw all those music albums, all those press outlets, all those blogs which you have on yourself. That's absolutely amazing. So could you please tell us about yourself, that how you got started?
Sure, yeah. So I grew up as a ballerina. I started training when I was 3 years old, danced my entire life, trained at the School of American Ballet, which is the training school for New York City Ballet in Lincoln Center. Went to college, thought I was going to be an attorney. And I actually had a professor that talked me out of pursuing law and told me I would never dance. So I decided to pursue academics as well as audition to become an NBA dancer. So I auditioned for at the time it was the New Jersey Nets. Now it's the Brooklyn Nets. And I made the team. I was on the team for about 5 years, 2 years, which I was team captain, which was really, really cool. And then once I got into the NBA, that kind of was my introduction into the fitness industry. And I started as a dancer teaching part time at like a boutique fitness studio. And then from there, we started doing partnerships with Crunch Fitness. And I began teaching digitally, which is a whole new ball game. I'm sure we have all learned through the pandemic. And long story short, at this point in time, still working as a professional dancer, model, on camera host, and full time as a fitness trainer for Get the Mirror and a Lululemon ambassador. So those have been like really cool accolades that I've accomplished through the pandemic. And I'm so happy to be able to do what I love and share my passion to help others continue to better their lives.
Side, like you have a lot of news blog posts on yourself, and like you mentioned in your bios, like you work in the 5 years and you have traveled almost more than 10 countries. So could you please tell us about the experience, like when you were traveling in different countries, that how was your feeling and what are the things you have learned, what are the things which you have learned from their culture which help you in recent time?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny because I had never been outside of the United States until I joined the NBA. So getting that job was the first time I got my passport, which was really exciting. And I'll never forget, our first trip was to China. So it's like 19-hour flight, the whole thing. And like completely going across to the other side of the world was
Mm,
totally eye-opening to me, just to see the variations in culture and
mm,
music and food and fashion. And I love traveling. That like gave me the travel bug. And
yeah.
whenever we would go to, other countries or other areas of the world, it was always important for me to meet like the locals and to see
Mm,
like how the locals live and the things that they do and what their lifestyles are like, because I feel like we are in this bubble in the United States that's very
yes.
huge, which is cool, but I think it's great to get a cultural perspective, and it gives you a perspective to feel more refreshed, or at least kind of where you stand with how you feel about your life and your life's journey. So I feel like anytime we traveled outside the country, I became very much more appreciative of the life that I have here in the United States. And it also opened my eyes. One trip that really sticks out to me is we partnered to do charity work in Jamaica. And my mother's side of
Mm,
the family is from Jamaica. And I had never been to Jamaica. So dance is what brought me there. And while we were there, we were
mm,
doing dance workshops with the children. And a lot of these children were showing up barefoot, dancing on hot concrete in the sun. It's like
mm,
95 degrees. And they were just the
mm,
happiest and most joyous, like spirits that I have seen in a long time. And it really made me realize, like, for them to just make so much of something so little,
mm,
there's something to that I think is super duper special and very important for us to remember, that no matter where you're coming or going, there's always someone that could either use more or is just grateful for what they have. So I think it's just us kind of or at least me personally, continuing to be grateful for what the life I've been given and the ability that I have to impact others, uplift others, motivate others, and also feel inspired personally, because I always say children are my motivation. As cheesy as it is, I love like the youth, they're our future and they're our driving.
The kind of travels you have, the kind of experience you have got from their culture, meeting new peoples, and you are learning something new. So that's something exciting and teaches us a lot of things. So I just want to highlight one thing that, like when you started, how was everything at that point of time? Because, and you, as we all know, that starting point is one of the difficult tasks, no matter what you do in your life. So when you started your dance career at that point of time, how you keep yourself accountable that, okay, I want to step into this field fully. So these are the things I have to focus. Is there anyone who gave you the backup supports? Because we all need some supports from family who supported you. So could you please tell us, like, just share your experience about this? That would help us and motivate our audience a lot, because whatever audience we have listen to this podcast, they have a they are just move around, that they have lack of consistency and they're not able to follow certain things for a longer times. Whatever we do in our life, it's all about consistency if we do it on a regular basis. And whatever you have achieved so far, that's all became possible for the consistency you have bring into your dance fields and made you who you are right this moment. So could you please tell us that how you got started and what was the challenging part at that point of time you faced?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting to think about how I got started because I don't think at the time I knew that I had a dance career. I was like I said, I had auditioned for the team and I made the team, but I was also working a 9 to 5 corporate job during the day in human resources. And then I was rehearsing or having games or appearances in the evenings and weekends. So I very much was living this over consumed lifestyle where I was constantly just, there was never a break. But I also come from a family of hustlers. So that hustler mindset was always instilled upon me, because I began training professionally as a dancer when I was in 5th grade. So I would school around noon or the middle of the day, and then I would go to training for the rest of the day, usually about 5 to 6 days a week. So that at a young age really taught me how to time manage, which I think is a really, really important facet, especially in the industry that we're in, whether it's fitness or entertainment. So just making sure you prioritize things so that you can get them done. And when you were speaking to having a support system, I think that that is very crucial. I'm very grateful that my mother, I come from a family of nurses. So naturally they wanted me to be a doctor or something in the medical field. And not for nothing, it just wasn't organic to me, and I could barely deal with like blood or paper cut or anything like that. So I was just like, I'm not sure I could do that avenue. And even though that was my mother's expectation, she never pressured me to pursue that route. She always said, you have to do what you're going to feel the most alive, like where you're going to feel like you have the most to offer to people. So my mother was always my number one cheerleader. She put me in dance when I was like 3 years old at like a recreational program at a library that was free. My mom has 5 of us, and I'm her only daughter. So I have 4 brothers. So for us, she was constantly running around, taking someone to karate, taking someone to soccer, running me to dance and dance competitions on the weekend. So there was always this like go-getter mindset that she kind of instilled upon us. And I think I really carry that with me today. And it's been the most refreshing thing to have someone in your corner, just to remind you, because there's going to be times where it's not going to be all rainbows and sunshine. And there's going to be really tough moments that you kind of have to work through, especially me being in the dance/entertainment industry. You're going to get a million no's, and you're going to get declined for so many jobs. And like that one yes that comes around like probably 10% of the time is like what you work towards. So you have to remember that like every time you get knocked down, to get back up and get back on the horse and just like brush your shoulders off, look at yourself in the mirror, say, I got this, I'm going to get through this. Tomorrow's a new day, and just continue to carry it forth. And my mom has been a big voice in that sense, always reminding me that when the going gets tough, you continue to get tougher. So I love her for that.
The industry you are in, it's not all the time that you will get the rainbows. Like you have to try keep over and over again, because it's such a competitive industries, and the work you have done when I gone through your websites, it's absolutely incredible. Like the way you started at being a hustler and the kind of work you are, when you got this break, how was your feeling at that point of times? Like how it came to you? Like when you got a proposal to work in that songs, Cookie, so where you are playing the lead roles. So could you please tell us about that also?
Yeah, it's so funny because when you get your first break, it's like you're never
Yeah.
really ready. A
Mm,
thing that they say in the industry is stay ready so you don't have to get ready because you never know when that moment's going to come. So you, and also to working in live entertainment, like when you're live television, anything can happen at any time. So you just constantly have to be prepared and kind of roll with the punches sometimes. So when I did get that first break working with R. Kelly, I was like floored.
mm,
I had no idea that also too they don't give you much information till you arrive to set. So I just got an email from my agent with Block Talent Agency in New York City, very reputable
mm,
talent agency. And they were just like, you got a direct booking, which is
mm.
that's like the goal. You want to get directly booked. And
Yeah.
then they were just like, show up to this location at 5 a.m. and a van is going to pick you up. And I had no information what I was getting myself into. And then when I arrived to set, of course, they put you in hair and makeup, and then they handed me a script. And I was like,
Mm,
whoa, 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 what is this for me? And they're like, yeah, you have lines. And I had no idea. So, again, another moment where it was like, I just had to be ready to rock and roll with it. And
mm,
next thing you know, we were rehearsing with R. Kelly. He was walking us through, how they were going to do the shots, how he wanted the lines delivered, and everything like that. So, that was a really surreal moment to
mm,
feel like I finally made it, I guess, in a sense, as far as a commercial dancer in the industry.
mm,
And then from there, going on to perform on Saturday Night Live and Jimmy Fallon and America's Got Talent. That's when I really
mm,
realized there was something to this, that I could actually make it a career and I could
mm,
continue to do what I love. And I also still work as a dance teacher and a dance educator
mm,
for the youth. So when I was growing up, I feel like there really weren't many roles
mm,
like mine that
mm,
younger people could look up to say, hey, you can do that. You can dream it. You can do it. You
mm,
can see it. You can be it. So I feel like now being in the position to be able to deliver that message and share that,
mm,
like, never give up on your dreams, as like cliche as it is, it truly is so applicable to today because of the technology that we have. Like, you don't even need an agent to get booked for jobs now. These, a lot of these TikTokers and YouTubers,
mm,
influencers on Instagram, you have a platform to sell yourself or promote
mm,
yourself or get your message and your content out there. So if it's something you're truly interested in, it's really buckling down to grind. And just
mm,
remember that when those few shining moments come around, to really just be present and enjoy it,
mm,
right? After all of your
mm,
hard work and your hustle, just really,
mm,
really take it in for a second, because
mm.
it goes by so fast. It really does. But it's
Yeah.
really great to reflect back on and give yourself some credit. I think a lot of people in the entertainment industry don't give themselves enough credit. So I think acknowledge that and just be thankful and grateful for the opportunities that come around, because they're few and far between.
I did do professionally, and that's what I want to highlight. You have a lot of platforms right now. You have Instagram, you have Twitter, you have like TikTok. You can utilize those things and you can use it and you can just showcase your passions, whatever talents you have. One incident, could you please explain that anything dramatic happened, which is something unacceptable to you? Because when we start doing something, we all have this moment. We had some bad experience, good experience. So that one incident which taught you a lot of things, which say you wouldn't expect that this is the thing's going to happen with, but that happened. So what was the thing and how you reacted on that point of time? The reason why I'm asking this question, because here in this podcast, we have a lot of young trainers, we have a young athletes. They start their journey, but as they go along and they don't see the result in a couple of times, so they get demotivated. So could you please tell us that one incident which keep us motivates our audience?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because something that constantly I have endured a few times working in the
Mm,
industry, whether it's fitness or entertainment,
mm,
is trying to stay culturally true to how I want to be
mm,
represented in the public eye. I think
mm,
there's been a huge, I would say, as far as female beauty ideals that have been imposed upon or
mm,
impressed into the industry of, this is what
mm,
we should look like, this is the box or the category that we should fit in.
mm,
And if you don't fit into that, you're not cool or you're not good enough. And I think that mold is beginning to change, but I would love to see more progress with that. So, for instance, my particular experiences are when I've arrived on set to work a
mm,
job. They put me
mm,
in hair and makeup. I'm the first one in, and 3 hours later, I'm still sitting in hair and makeup because they didn't hire the skilled enough stylist to know how to handle
mm,
ethnic hair.
mm,
Like, I
mm,
am a biracial woman. My
mm,
mother's side of the family is Jamaican, my dad's side of the family is Eastern European. So,
mm,
as far as just the industry being prepared how to prep people for that. I think there's room for improvement. And I also think as a person,
Mm,
continuing to give yourself grace and stay
mm,
professional
mm,
through that. Because when those moments are going to happen, you can't freak
mm,
out, you can't flip out, you can't curse anyone out. You have to just kind of keep your composure and
mm,
eloquently figure out how to navigate that. So I think the first few times it happened to me, I was just like grateful to be there. But now that I've
mm,
done enough work and enough jobs in the
mm,
industry, I have learned to speak up for myself so that I know that at the end of the day, if there's another little girl watching this commercial or this video that has curly hair, that she's going to feel represented. And I think it's
yeah,
important for her to feel that representation is true,
mm,
authentic
mm,
versus kind of commercialized or downgraded,
mm,
diluted. So I think that that has been the biggest thing, is to remember that even when there's going to be obstacles that present themselves, continue to
mm,
really stick to who you are in your gut.
mm,
Because at the end of the day, we are easily influenced to try to be someone else. But remember, if
mm,
you're getting hired for the job, they're hiring you for you and who you truly are.
mm,
So just try to
yeah,
really navigate that fine line of, yes, give
mm,
them artistic and creative freedom to help develop the message or the gig that they want you to do, but also remember that you don't want to feel like you lose yourself when that airs or that content comes out.
that's right, because you have to be who you are, because you have a unique identity, you have a special identity which you can represent, and that's make you different from others in the industry. So that's a very well point you have highlighted, and that's all I want, that our audience should listen to this. Like, she's making a very important point here, that you have to be who you are right this moment. So I just want to ask you that how someone can find their passion, as you started as a hustler and you got into this field. When you have done a couple of projects, then you came to know that okay, I have to do this permanently, this is I want to see as my career. So if someone is started in any field, no matter whether it's fitness, in a professional career, any kind of careers, so how they can figure out their passions and follow for a longer time?
I think the best way to really find your passion and then maybe your niche in the passion is to explore all different kinds of things in your realm, right? For instance, in the dance world, I grew up as a ballerina, but I always took all different styles of dance, because the more versatile you are, you're going to take something, right? If I take a jazz class, there's going to be something that I learned from that. If I take a musical theater class, I'm going to have something to take away from that. And that just helps continue to add to the arsenal that you have, like in your back pocket, of all the special skills that you're going to develop. So I think the more variety that you can get in your training or your education, whatever it is that's going to help enhance your portfolio, that is going to help you narrow the view of what it is that you exactly want to do. And I think that the more education, the more networking, just really putting yourself out there is going to help you find your true calling. And remember that it does take time. It's not going to happen right away. Like, I never thought that I was going to have a career as a dancer. I literally thought I was going to be an attorney. Working in the legal field, or maybe be like some sort of FBI agent when I was a child. Just I have an interest in that. But at the end of the day, you truly have to do what you love, and you have to, you want to feel fulfilled. And I think the best way to do that is to really hone in on your skills, enhance your portfolio as much as possible. And then as you start to see a trend with certain things, like for me, it was always fitness dance. That always was like a lingering thing throughout everything that I've done in my life. And using that to really harness your skills and your abilities to put out the content, or whatever it is that you're looking to accomplish in the world, really just dial into that. And of course,
Yeah,
I work with like-minded people like yourself that are in our same industry.
but how long someone can do that, because we have a limited amount of times. There is an age chapter, we have to focus in our career also. So this is the tricky question, because a lot of our audience, when we have a one-on-one consultation, this is the question we very often get it. So I
Mm.
just want you to say that how long someone can follow and try to find out that passions, and how the passion truly defines, because our interest is changed as per the times. We were a kid, on that time we like something else, but as we grow, our passion change, it's modified. So what do you say on that?
Yeah, that's a very interesting point, because there's something that I've read. I can't remember exactly where it was, but they say that we continue to grow and evolve every 5 to 7 years, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, if you think about your life in chapters, I think that that is an appropriate way to kind of navigate that journey and know that when you're going through a chapter, that's the point in time where you really want to be dialed in and connected. And then sometimes the universe will force that chapter to close. Like when I left the NBA as a dancer, I thought the door was going to close on my dance career, and it actually opened a whole new ball game of many more opportunities. And while I was sad to say goodbye to working with the NBA, it was to the point in time where I, became team captain. I made the NBA All-Star dance team. It was kind of like I came, I saw, I conquered. What's next, And you have to continue to grow and evolve fluidly with that. So I think just being comfortable knowing that nothing is going to last forever, and that it may take that 3 to 5 years to get you to where you want to be. And then when you feel solid in that kind of routine or lifestyle or expectation of your career, looking ahead at what's going to be on the horizon. Because I think that as humans, we're students for life, right? There's always things to learn, grow, and evolve into. So I think continuing to set new goals every 3 to 5 years is going to help work through that journey in those appropriate chapters. And then when you look back at the end of the day, like when you're on your deathbed and you're looking at your full story, you're going to have really awesome bite-sized moments that stick out to you. And you can say that, I didn't spend my entire 60 years or whatever it is working in this one thing. Because I think another thing too is in the industry I've worked in, everyone's tried, like I was speaking to, put you in that one category. And this always makes me think of Jennifer Lopez, because I remember she started as a dancer in the industry, and they always told her, you'll never be an actor. You'll never be a singer. You can't do it all, but you can. That's the biggest thing I think everyone needs to remember, is that you can. If you have one interest, that's great. But if you have multiple, don't dilute one just because you want to focus on the other. Continue to pursue all of those passions and see where the journey takes you. And just remember to be flexible with your journey. Yeah. Like if something happens, it's for a reason. You might not understand at the time, but know that the universe has a bigger plan. And as you continue to go through those ups and downs, that roller coaster of life, you're going to be better for it on the other side. Because it's the challenges that change us, right? It's the challenges that make us better and continue to push us to grow. Not those wonderful, fun moments. Yes, those are great memories, but it's enjoying that journey, even though it is sometimes a roller coaster.
You still have that memories which you have built in your early part of your career. That's what you are talking about, because you have enjoyed that process. When you started, you are fully into that, you enjoyed it. And that's opened another door. So this is what I want to highlight here. She made a very valuable point that you have to enjoy every single moment. Like no matter what you are doing, just try to focus on that, be on that. So that will help you to give you a better understanding that what you are doing on it. So could you please tell us that how you plan your day, like how you start your day? Is there any particular routine? Because as you being an athlete, indulging in a lot of works, so how you plan your workouts, how you plan your nutrition, is there any particular guides you follow?
Yes, definitely. I think a morning and daily routine is so essential for just feeling set up for success. So for me personally, first thing in the morning, I try not to go for the phone. I know we're in that generation where first thing, okay, alarm goes off. What is there to see? I try to at least give myself an hour of just waking up. I like to just start my day with setting some positive affirmations that I just kind of repeat to myself. It could be verbally, it could be internally, but I usually do that for about 3 to 5 minutes. And then I really think it's important to get some sort of movement in. So I like to start my day with just like an early morning stretch, just kind of, I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, but it's like, you kind of have to warm the engine up before you get going. So I think that is what really works for me. And then, of course, once I'm done with that stretch, I'm ready to kind of kickstart my day and dive into whatever it is. But I think having like your personal time in the morning is super duper important for your morning routine. And of course, for me, I like to kickstart it too with some sort of nutritional value, whether it is starting with a shake or, breakfast, depending on the day. If I'm on the go, I usually have a shake because it's just easy to grab and go. But if I'm home, I actually love to cook. So I tend to try to make fresh food as much as possible, have that first thing in the morning, because that is what gets your metabolism going. And then you are energized for the day. And, from there, my days vary just because of the industry that I'm in. So no day is ever the same, which is, I think, why I gravitated toward this career. And it keeps it interesting. But I like that variety because it, allows opportunities to do things like this. And, I think it's
Mm,
important for the world and the industry that we're in. The way things are structured is like we
mm,
constantly can connect with people. And I think
yeah.
I've always been a people person, and that is like what
Mm,
that's like what gets my juices going. So I love being able to connect with new people and just
mm,
share with one another because there's always
yeah.
something that you can take away from an experience.
That's absolutely right. Because when you share something new, when you talk to the people, you learn a lot of things. So I just want to ask you one more thing, like how someone can be prepared on their goals. For example, if someone wants to do something, so how they can predict, because as you talk about that, you have to be in the present. You have to work like whatever doing right this moment, you have to be focused on that. But we have a long-term goal as well. We have a goal for 6 month goal that, okay, after 6 months, we have to do this. So just correct me here. This is what I follow generally for myself. I just try to predict all the possible things which I will do wrong to not achieve my goal. And once I finalize, okay, these are the mistakes I'm committing. So these are the things will not help me to get my goal. And according to that, I plan my better plan for doing my work on a regular basis. So what do you think, that it is a right strategy to plan a long-term goal, or we have to totally focus in the short-term goals which we make on a daily basis?
I love this question because you are my husband, right? He is the ultimate planner. Everything is mapped out to the T, like 6 months out. I think it really depends on your personality type and your lifestyle. I don't know if it's because being an artist, I'm very momentary, and I think that's because it's like whatever I'm doing, I'm fully immersed in that
Hmm,
moment. I need to be
hmm,
connected, which is not a bad thing. Versus, if someone likes to plan, I think learning the mindset that works for you. I also don't do well when I consider negativity. I know that for me is something that makes me feel weighed down. So depending on how you can kind of how a person navigates mindset is a big thing. So for me, I tend to lean into trying to focus on the positive, trying to
hmm,
push for confidence, trying to push for
hmm,
feeling comfortable, which
hmm,
is not always going to be the case, but also feeling
hmm,
secure with the decisions that I'm making. Because I think you reach a point in life, I don't know if it's because I'm in my 30s, but you feel like
hmm,
you're true to who you know who you are, right? You've gone through the ups and downs of your 20s. You're very
hmm,
like, this is what I want to accomplish. These are the people I want to be surrounded by, and these are my goals. So I think when
hmm,
you're working towards those goals, you kind of have to get that whole holistic picture
hmm,
of the
hmm,
components of your life. And mindset, I think, is a huge thing. At least I
hmm,
know a strategy we use, again, relating back to the dance world, is you always want to focus on being the best version of yourself. And it's like something simple, right? If you go to do a leap or a jump, if I say I'm going to fall in my
hmm,
head, I
hmm.
like fall out of that. But if I say
Yeah.
I'm going to hit this jump, bam, and I'm going to land it gracefully, there's something
Hmm,
in that small shift in your frame of mind that sets the intention to produce what you want, right? You want that kind of result that you're striving towards. So at least in
hmm,
my personal experience, I try to set up that confidence and
hmm,
articulate and speak into existence what I want to happen,
hmm,
which it depends on your personality. But for some people, for instance, you sound very similar. Like my husband, he likes to be prepared to know how to
hmm,
respond, right? Like if scenario A happens, what do I do? If scenario B
hmm,
happens, what do I do? Versus someone like myself, I'm very like, okay, we're going to see what happens and we're going to hope for the best, which
hmm,
it has to work for your lifestyle and your mindset. If it doesn't, then it's not going to set you up for success. So I think remembering, we were talking about that concept of being fluid with
hmm,
things work,
hmm,
really
hmm,
remembering that if, like for you, like you said, if mapping things out is how you
hmm,
feel the most secure, then
hmm,
that continue to do that. There's
hmm,
something to it, that there's some magic there that
hmm,
helps
hmm.
things get executed.
A particular roadmap. Okay, these are the things I will do. And according to that, I plan, because there are certain things which you want to do, it will take time, no matter how much effort you will put. If your plan is to get that goal in 5 years, then you have to give the 5 years time. You can't get in 1 year or 6 months. It will take time. So that's a very valid point which you have mentioned here, that you have your plan, just focus on a daily moment, that what you are doing, how best you are providing, how excited you are for the work which you want to do. So, is there any way someone can train their mind? Because when it's come to mentality, there is everything. No matter how strong you are, how much willpower you have, but if you are not mentally strong, you can't able to do the things which you want to do for a longer time. So, how can someone train their mentality and So do and be focused on that.
That is actually such like real talk. It's so true because your mental health, right? We're in
Mm,
this time where pandemic has really transitioned people's lifestyles
mm,
and everyone's
mm,
had to adjust. So I think
mm,
it's super important to really feel strong
mm,
mental health wise, if that, makes sense. But I
mm,
think a big focus is making sure that, like you said, talking about setting up those short-term and
mm,
long-term
mm,
goals, those are
mm,
vital, because
mm,
that way it's easy to work towards something short-term. So you
mm,
kind of get not immediate validation, but you have
mm,
these small successes. So you're constantly
mm,
feeling motivated and encouraged. And
mm,
then
mm,
along the way of those short-term goals, you're working
mm,
towards that long-term picture. So you're
mm,
still on track, right? You're still on that journey
mm,
towards the ultimate goal. So I think
mm,
just continuing to remember that as you're going through those moments to just
mm,
be confident. And when things come up, and if you have to kind of adjust and pivot,
mm,
take the
mm,
journey. Take the journey. Don't
mm,
get down on yourself. Yes, it
mm,
happens, but remember tomorrow's going to be a new day, and just
mm,
continue to keep setting the bar high, right? Because you have to push yourself, and I think having that mindset is a huge thing.
mm,
And I think
yeah.
also remembering to allocate time for self-care, right? For your
Mm,
own personal time, because we're so caught up in being busy and being pulled here and,
mm,
depending on where you are in life. But I think it's very important to continue to fill your cup, because if your cup is
mm,
not filled, you're not going to be able
mm,
to provide or, kind of output for other things. So really making
mm,
sure that your cup feels filled first and foremost.
mm,
And I think that means even if it's setting 15 to 30 minutes a day for you, whether
mm,
it's your workout, whether it's
mm,
journaling, whether it's your meditation, whether it's you putting on your favorite song and dancing, like whatever it is,
mm,
I think it's just making sure that you take time to have some sort of joy every single day. Because life, it's not guaranteed. We're here today, gone tomorrow. So really, really just
yeah,
be
absolutely.
dialed into today. Because
Mm,
every moment it comes and it goes. You can't get it back. So really being
mm.
immersed and present through the moments of life.
All you have to do, enjoy every single moment, because you have no clue that what's going to happen the next hour or maybe in the next day. All you have right this moment, if you work on the passion and follow the right things right this moment, ultimately you will be able to do better in the upcoming days, whatever your goal is. So I know that this podcast is getting very longer, so the one message you want to give to our audience before we end this podcast, so what would it be?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing that I would want to leave everyone with is just
Mm,
remembering to stay true to you. And
yeah.
at the end of the day, happiness is the biggest thing.
Mm,
It's not the material things. And happiness looks different for everyone, but your true feeling of happiness and feeling connection and feeling
mm,
support, because we're social beings, right? We're human beings. We thrive off of
yeah.
connection. So I think just remembering
Mm,
that if you're going through
mm,
a tough time, not to isolate yourself. Remember, you're not alone.
mm,
The journey at some point in
mm,
time, there's someone that went through something similar that you could connect on. So
mm,
never be afraid
mm,
to ask for
mm,
help. I think I come from a family where we were always expected to be the best of the best in the room. And it's taken me time to
mm,
really get comfortable with, like, you know what, you can ask for help. It's not like the end of the world. It's okay not to
mm,
say you're showing weakness, but to show that you need a
mm,
support. Like we all need support
mm.
here.
Yeah.
And I think for
And
me,
that's
I recently finished my master certification for
mm, mm,
nutrition and health coaching. So I think for me,
mm,
we're talking about the chapters. This is probably the
mm,
chapter that I want to venture on, is working more with lifestyle coaching, because I think that that's a huge thing. And just the
mm,
industry, the way that the world is with pharmaceuticals,
mm,
and I want to
mm,
see it shift, right? A lot of the things that people are going through or navigating can be improved with improving lifestyle and behavioral
mm,
choices. I
mm,
do have a psychology background, so it'd be funny to kind of connect what I went to college for finally to, what I'm doing now in the world, in the industry. So I think that that is the next goal, is to really push
mm,
the envelope as a health and wellness coach, and
mm,
try to impact as many lives as possible,
mm,
especially
mm.
globally, because that's a
Yeah.
big thing. Yeah, after all my travels and seeing the way the cultures and the world are, the
Mm,
world is, I really would love to make a global impact as a health and
mm.
wellness.
No one is going to help you. You have to help yourself. And it's nothing wrong in asking help. Like there are a lot of people that are ready to help you. The only thing you have to do, you have to ask. Once you ask, you will find a lot of people around you who will stand with you, helping you. So just before we end this podcast, just tell our audience that how they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, I work as a professional dancer, health and wellness coach, model, and then, fitness personality in the industry. Would love to connect with everyone. IG is my thing. So, you can follow or say hi to me on Instagram at the Amanda Robinson. And yeah, we're continuing to push out content all the time. So, if you're looking for health and wellness tips, fitness tips, dance entertainment, definitely check out my profile. And like I said, I love to connect with people. So, even if you want to slide me a DM, say what's up, I'm always here as a health resource, as a mentor, or just someone if you want to connect in the similar industries. I'm here for it.
Guys, go and check the kind of value she's providing through her Instagram profile, and go and check her website. The kind of nutrition program she's offering, she's absolutely incredible. So thank you so much for being here. We would love to have you over and over again. Thank you so much for giving your time today.
Absolute honor. Thank you so much for having me. I
Thank
can't
you.
wait to
Thank
connect with everyone too. So looking forward, I
Thank
would definitely love to be back.